and those published outside this region, so mostly in Western Europe and the USA. So results. This will be in a form of a table. You will have a time to go through it, but I will also guide you a bit. So first of all, we can see that if we maybe the most important thing to understand the table is meaning of numbers. This is the way to compare Central and Eastern Europe to Western European average. Basically, 100 means that it is Western European average. So if the number is closer to 100, it means that it is closer to Western European average, and we can interpret as a better result. Of course, it can be more than 100, and the interpretation will be that for a given indicator, the situation in Central and Eastern Europe is better than in Western Europe. So first of all, you can see that taking into account very basic traditional measures of scientific activity as founding and employment in R&D sector, Central and Eastern Europe seems to be closer to Western Europe than if we take into account articles per inhabitant. So maybe it suggests that bibliometric indicators are maybe not better, but they give us some added value, added information.
Can you please conclude?
Okay, just 2 slides. Okay, the second conclusion is that if we compare articles per researchers, we see that it is almost the level of Western Europe. So researchers in Eastern Europe and Western Europe are as effective in publishing in terms of a number of papers as researchers in Western Europe. But if we compare it, but if we take into account articles per inhabitant, we see a huge gap. It could suggest that if we would like to develop the scientific sector in Central and Eastern Europe, we should just enlarge the workforce of this sector, so just employ more researchers, because it is hardly to imagine that they will produce more and more papers than their Western colleagues. The next conclusion will be that quantitative indicators looks better for Central and Eastern Europe. So articles per researchers are almost at the level of Western Europe. But if we look at citation per researcher, we see that there is still a quite huge gap. And the last one, here you have a comparison between all journals and only journals published outside Central and Eastern Europe. So you can basically see that these 2 types of journals, let's say, differs significantly. Those journals published in Central and Eastern Europe gets less citations, and also international collaboration is significantly lower in this kind of journals. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Adam and Agnieszka. May I ask for some questions or suggestions? Any questions? Yeah, please, Mike.
Small comment. I think a rather similar finding was made by Michel 6 some years ago when he looked at the German and French language journals, and he found that if you included those, then the citation scores of German and French scientists went down quite a lot. And I suspect that many of these journals from Eastern Europe are published in local languages. I know that a lot of the Polish ones are, and I think this probably mitigates against them getting citations, because not many people will be able to read articles in Polish and Hungarian and Czech.
Actually, thank you for this comment. Actually, it is a factor influencing these results, but only a little bit, because, for example, in Poland there is only 6% of Polish language journals in Web of Science, so it is not much. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Adam and Agnieszka. Thanks for nice presentation. May I ask Shubhadeep to come? He will talk on R&D contribution by developing and developed and developing countries in physics, a comparative study.
Good evening, respected chairperson, all the participants and ladies and gentlemen. Myself Shubhadeep Bid from National Library, Kolkata. It is my great honor and pleasure to present my paper on the topic R&D contribution by developed and developing country in physics, a comparative study. My co-author name was Prakash Chand, ex-scientist CSI from NISCARE, and Dr. R.K. Verma, ex-chief scientist from NISCARE. My topic is study of physics. As we all know that the study of physics is the basic need, and it act as bridge between knowledge creation and wealth generation. And Indian scientific contribution in physics has a significant contribution, and for that reason the study this study has been taken. Earlier there was a numerous studies which takes publication output of author from Indian origin, but as an example, Dhawan in 1988, in his study comparative study of physics research in India and China, he observed that China was ahead in terms of publication output and ranked 7 in the world, whereas India was placed in 10th, while USA at the top. There was no attempt to report comparative study taking 21 years, that is from 1988 to 2008, on physics R&D development. For the present study, it is compare the publication output of physics between 4 countries by taking 2 developed country as well as 2 developing country. India and Pakistan as a developing country, and with France and Germany with the developed countries. My objective is to find out the publication size of the contribution made by these 4 countries. There was a language-wise distribution of publication, type of publication in which author published their articles or their papers, subject-wise productivities, and as well as collaboration patterns. My study is based on the Web of Science databases. The data was collected by searching individual country names and in the search field, and after collecting all the data in the notepad, it was transferred to the MS Excel, and for analysis the data. For publication year, it was made clear that it was taken 1988 to 2008. The table shows the data analysis and interpretation. It was found that India published near about 5,711 papers, where Pakistan published 3,859 papers, and Germany and France. India have contributed as many as 1,05,700 items in the field of physics. Their average annual publication rate was 5,034 items. It showed the steady growth in total item published between the time period, except the year 1995, 97, and 2007. Indian physics literature is doubling in about 18 years. It was found that in 1988, the number of articles is 3,152, but in 2004, in 2000, in 2004, it was near about doubling, and in 2008, it is near about tripled the initial amount. Uh, growth patterns show the Indian author have contributed significantly more research article with the start of 21st century rather than the 20th century. The table shows that Pakistan had published 3,859 papers in national and international journals. Their average publication rate is 183.76 items per year. It shows that fluctuating in 17 years, but it shows that after 2004, it was steady. They show the steady growth, and its exponential growth rate better than Indian growth rate in physics. France has published a total amount of 271,058 research papers during 21 years of span of time. Average annual rate is 12,907 papers. Table shows that in the early 90s, the growth rate was an increase, but in France, but later their publications showed decreasing trend. Decreasing trend. Analysis shows that fluctuating and non-steady growth rate over the timeline of study period. Germany, from the Web of Science databases, it shows that 3,56,990 research paper. The average publication rate is 183.76 items per year. Its average publication rate based on 21 research output therefore come from 16,999 items per year. Growth rate in physics was high in the beginning 90, but later it showed rate fluctuating. Now there was a language-wide distribution of publication. As we know that the English is the predominant language among all the countries, and from the table it shows that in India near about 1,05,680 papers have been published in English language, in Chinese in 12 languages, Russian 10 language, and there was a no distinguished difference found among developing country because they are trained to publish their article in English language. But in terms of developed country like France and Germany, they also prefer to publish their paper in their native language also. As shown in the table, in Germany, they prefer to publish their article German in near about 4,473 papers, and this same case is also applicable for the France also. In their native language, they publish 7,683 papers. In the nutshell, we can say that developed country preferred English language as well as the native language, but developing country publish their preferred only in English language only. Type of publication in which author preferred to publish their work. As article shows that there are different types of document types: articles, bibliography, editorial material, conference proceeding. But a number of articles, author from India, Pakistan, German, France, all are attracted to publish their articles in articles. And India and Pakistan have a similar trend to publish their research in different types of publications. India and Pakistan have published their research articles in journal, followed by proceeding paper, notes, letter, reviews, editorials. There was no visible trend of physics literature among developed and developing countries in these respects. In general, research article followed by proceeding paper, meeting, abstract, review, notes, etc. has been preferred by the majority of physics literature published by the developed and developing countries. The table shows the subject-wise productivities, and I take only 20 subdomains of physics, and from the sources, it shows that within the bracket it gives the percentage growth rate. I made 21 into 7 triennial publication here, and just difference and found out the growth rate between the initial year and the last year, and we found that publication output by India during 1988-2008 was highest in condensed matter physics, followed by multidisciplinary physics, applied physics, astronomy physics, and so on. In India, remote sensing has been the fastest growing area during our time period. This is followed by nanoscience and technology, fluid and plasma physics, crystallography, mathematical physics, optics, applied physics, geochemistry, and geophysics. And acoustic shows the negative growth rate. Subject-wise publication output by Pakistan shows that highest in nuclear science and technology with 711 paper, followed by multidisciplinary physics with 540 papers, applied physics with 500 paper, and so on. In Pakistan, crystallography has been the fastest growing area during the time span of between 1988 to 2090 and 2006 to 2008. This is followed by thermodynamics, mechanics, nanoscience and technologies, and so on. Nuclear science and technology ranked 16 in terms of growth rate of it is not possible to find out the growth rate of acoustic and remote sensing due to the absence of the article in the time range. For France, was highest in condensed matter physics with 44,811 paper, followed by applied physics, multidisciplinary physics, astronomy physics, and so on. Nanoscience and nanotechnology had been the fastest growing area during this time span. This is followed by remote sensing, fluid and plasma physics, and so on. Crystallography show the negative growth rate. Publication output from Germany was highest in condensed matter physics with 60,747 paper, followed by applied physics, multidisciplinary physics, optics, and so on. Remote sensing had been the fastest growing area. This is followed by nanoscience and nanotechnology, fluid and plasma physics, optics, geochemistry and geophysics, and so on. Subject-wise publication, remote sensing and nanoscience and nanotechnology, fluid and plasma physics, geochemistry and geophysics, astronomy and astrophysics are the few fields where the it is emerging as the new subject area in the recent time. Both the developed as well as the developing country. Leaving astronomy and astrophysics in all the areas, a developed country like France and Germany work more. It can be seen that nanoscience and nanotechnology, remote sensing, geochemistry and geophysics, fluid and plasma physics are the some field where the developed and developing countries works a lot, and it emerge as the new trend in these subject fields. This shows the collaboration pattern. As all the country, whether it developed or developing country, it does not be self-sufficient, and for sharing their knowledge, it is necessary to collaborate with the other country also. And this table shows the collaboration patterns. As shown in the table, India has a collaboration with many countries in this field of physics, but USA is at the top, followed by Germany with 4,809 papers, with Japan with 2,774 papers, and so on. Pakistan. For Pakistan, Germany ranked at the top with 321 paper of the total paper published by the Pakistans during 1988 to 2008, followed by USA, People of Republic of China, and so on. France also collaboration with many countries. USA ranked top with 32,740 papers, 44 papers, followed by Germany with 23,610 papers, Italy, and so on. Germany also US ranked top with German also, followed by France, Russia, England, and so on. It can be noticed that US share its publication with almost all the country in the world, and it indicates is very strong in the field of physics. France, Germany, Russia, Italy are the other countries which are involved in the collaboration with many countries. In my conclusion, it shows that India saw the steady growth in all 20 subdomains, and it doesn't show any null contribution in any subdomain during the entire span of time. For developing country like France and Germany and Pakistan have shown null contribution in different subdomain of physics in different year of studies. It indicates that Indian uniform speeds in its contribution, command, strength, and involvement in all subdomain of physics, whereas other countries under investigation lack this kind of strength. India has contributing to physics discipline at a much higher rate in the early 90s. After 2002, there was a noticeable growth in the publication of R&D in physics. English is the predominant language among India, Pakistan, France, and German. Developed countries like France and German do publish their physics research in their native language also, where India and Pakistan publish their research in English language also. Research trend analysis that nanoscience and nanotechnology, remote sensing, geochemistry, geophysics, fluid and plasma physics are some of the subfield of physics where both developed as well as developing countries have contributed significantly. US is at the top in the list of collaboration country with India, France, and Germany. Japan is the only Asian country which has maximum number of research collaboration with India. It can be said that Indian physics hold a very good and established position among leading countries in the area of physics. Thank you.
Thank you, Shubhajit. Any question? Yeah, please.
Hello. Hello. I am Dr. Singh, Sanjay Singh from IIT Ghaziabad. You presented a paper, long paper you have presented here. Out of the papers I have seen many of the countries you have mentioned, that Indian, Asian, European, all the countries you have mentioned in your long papers. And you have shown the data also. Many of the data you have shown in the different years, 1988 to current one. So I would like to know which references you have used for these data, where from you collected all the data, those who are mentioned here.
Actually, all the
references also.
Actually, all the data was collected from the Web of Science. My time period was 1988 to 2008, and the data was collected in the year 2009 because this was my project work during my AIS course, and so the data was collected at the time of 2000 year. So maybe at the present time, if any person search this data, it can be fluctuation. Actually, all that time it was updated. So it may be.
That's why I'm asking.
Data was collected in 2009 to 2001, 2009. Maybe. It was actually my project work. Yes.
Yeah.
First of all, I have a question regarding your methodology. You have not mentioned how you downloaded the data of physics. You have just mentioned the countries and the field.
No, sir. Actually, I just at that time in the search field, I just gave the name individual India, Pakistan, France.
That's right.
After
What about the field, subject physics? How did you download the physics data?
physics data, just I told you, sir. In the individual year, I just made the year 1988.
Okay.
And after then there was a search page, and there was a option of in the left side there was an option for selecting the subject area. I just picked the 20 subdomain of the physics and selecting all the subdomain of the physics.
Okay, that you have not mentioned on the
No, yes, sir.
Okay.
I just meant.
Second thing, you have just used the absolute indicators.
Yes.
And absolute indicators like publication output, that is confounded by size of the country and size of the field. So it would have been better if you have normalized this data by using activity index.
Okay, sir.
Okay. And last conclusion, just go to the next slide. It can be said that Indian physics is keeping pace with international standard and finally can be conducted. International standard in what? In impact or in output?
In terms of output, yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Shubhadeep.
Yes, sir.
We already late, so I thanks everybody. I thanks all the speakers, invited speakers, and all the participants and those who had questions or suggestions. Thank you very much.
Now I request Chair Dr. Deval Sikar to present a memento to our speaker, Labiba Jain. Again, I request our chair to present a token of thanks to the paper presenters. Kim Homburg, kindly take. Kim. Sandhya Divedi. R. Bala Subramani. You can take. Yeah, you can take. Miss Nirmala. Adam. And Angizik, the co-author. Shobhodeep. Now I request Dr. Shantanu Ganguly, please come for the closing remarks.
Thank you, Geeta. At the end of the technical sessions, I don't want to give you any more stress out on the academic field. But the only thing, a couple of observations I just want to mention and share with you. The number one is, Shubhadeep, I would like to tell you, you mentioned that in physics, the native language or the local language is not there. But let me tell you, Professor Satyendranath Bose, the renowned physicist, the National Professor of Physics, who is said to be the authority on the quantum physics. He has written several publications in Bengali. And probably those Bengali books or papers were never accounted by the world of science, so they have never been accumulated. Professor Satyendranath Bose publications in quantum physics research, it's still well acclaimed even in his particle physics theory. That is called CERN, where the currently that black hole, the entire concept is coming up, which is called quantum. You can see that movie, The Quantum Indians, where it has actually been highlighted also. Now, since morning, we had a lot of discussions regarding, measuring, because I remember when Professor I.V. Ravichandra Rao was talking about measuring the things. I think the difference between the output and outcome. There is one thing that very recently we did a project in Terry. There are three things which are very important today. One is water, another is energy, another is food. These three things in coming years is going to have a tremendous scarcity. So we did a research on the behalf of the Research Council for the UK government, and where we came out in India, because it was a multilateral bilateral organizations funding, they want to see in these three sectors how the research is really, real sense penetrating, taking these three pyramids. And which are the prime areas, because all three areas is going to have a lot of security problem in coming years, and which particular component overlaps with the others, which particular component supports with others, and which particular component connects with others. So there is a pyramid model. Basically, we came out with the study. If you go to Research Council for UK government site, you will see our report, which has already been published. It is available in open domain, number one. Number two, there is an enormous amount of data getting generated from every square today. In fact, some time back, I was going through I just heard a invited talk by Bhuva. This is on social media analysis. I just want to mention here, I came across a book very recently. There is a person called Alex Pentland. He is a professor from MIT lab. He's a renowned professor. He is very popularly called as Sandy Pentland. He wrote a book which is published by the Harvard Business Review called Social Physics. This book talks about the behavior which is taking place, the change in the behavior in the social media. So Professor Alex Pentland and a gamut of 5 students collected 5 billion data for 1 year from different social media and gone into the cognitive psychology and the behavioral analysis of all that. And he came out with a theory called a funnel concept. I don't want to go into that because I keep on talking about it. And he said that how this data in the coming years is going to revolutionize the entire world. And forget about those days when people used to use a lot of software like MStats, SPSS. What software is not there? But the nature of the data and the data sets, the structure, and because of the integration of the different subjects together, different kinds of relationships, science is getting connected with humanities or social sciences, the kind of data which is generating throughout the world is enormous and horrendous. So not a single software can really tackle that. There are different software that come up in the market like Hadoop and all, they are taking into, and people are really going into deep research of big data analytics on also. So these are some of the things. I think we, as Labiba mentioned in our presentations, that I think we information professionals, computer science professionals, knowledge professionals, we have to do a very different pragmatic role. And because the world is changing, the knowledge trend is changing, and there is a tremendous change is taking place as far as information, knowledge, wisdom, and whatnot. So I think keeping this, and this is what I want to just share with you throughout the day. You had a fantastic food of thought. I'm sure now it's a time for relaxations. So the cultural program is going to take place here in this Ramakrishna Hall. So we have to vacate the room. By the time, you can enjoy a cup of tea outside this. Thank you very much.
Geeta ma'am.